You already know what you're avoiding. You've known for years. You just call it something else. Being practical, being patient, being responsible. But underneath that comfortable name is a decision you keep making, over and over, without ever admitting you're making it. The decision to stay small. The safest path in life may be the most dangerous one. Every day, millions of people protect themselves from failure so carefully that they also protect themselves from growth, from confidence, from opportunity, from the very success they say they want. They avoid criticism. They avoid uncertainty. They avoid embarrassment. They avoid the possibility of being laughed at. They call it wisdom. They call it being practical. They call it playing safe. But years later, many of them wake up with a quiet pain they cannot explain. The pain of realizing that the life they protected so carefully became smaller than the dream they once carried. The truth is painful but necessary. The person who avoids every risk does not avoid danger. He simply chooses the slow danger of regret. At 25, almost everyone believes they are going to succeed. There is energy in the eyes, confidence in the voice, and some kind of dream in the heart. But by the later years of life, very few people have truly become what they intended to become. Why? Not because they had no ability, not because they had no chance, not because life refused them completely. In many cases, they slowly surrendered to the safest-looking road. They followed the crowd. They took no real chances. They kept one foot on first base and wondered why they never reached second. Earl Nightingale said, "The opposite of courage in our society is not cowardice, it is conformity." That one sentence explains why so many capable people never rise. They are not cowards in the ordinary sense. They may work hard. They may be decent people. They may carry responsibilities with dignity. But they conform. They do what everyone else is doing, without asking whether everyone else is going anywhere worth reaching. They copy the fears of their environment, copy the excuses of their friends, copy the limits of their industry, copy the safe routines of the majority, and slowly become prisoners of average thinking. Playing safe often looks peaceful from the outside, but inside, it can become a quiet form of surrender. A person begins to avoid the risk of failing, then avoids the risk of trying, then avoids the risk of dreaming, then avoids the risk of becoming. Finally, the greatest risk has already happened. He has risked his entire life on remaining the same. We must be clear. This is not a call to reckless action. Foolish risk is not courage. Jumping without preparation is not wisdom. Risk without thought is gambling. But calculated risk, taken in the direction of a worthy goal, supported by preparation, service, discipline, and intelligent thinking, is one of the great requirements of success. Nightingale defined success as the progressive realization of a worthy goal. Notice that success is progressive. It means movement. It means direction. It means growth. The person who has chosen a worthy goal and is moving toward it is already successful in the truest sense. But the person who refuses to move because movement feels uncertain is already paying the price of stagnation. Life does not reward the person who merely preserves comfort. Life rewards the person who increases value, solves problems, develops ability, and serves better than before. That requires risk. It requires the risk of being misunderstood, the risk of beginning before you feel ready, the risk of improving while others laugh, the risk of standing apart from the crowd, the risk of saying, "This is the goal I have chosen, and I am willing to pay the price." Most people want security, but they misunderstand where real security comes from. They think security comes from never changing, never standing out, never attempting anything difficult, and never exposing themselves to failure. But in a changing world, that kind of security is fragile. Comfortable routine can become a cage. A familiar skill can become outdated. A safe position can disappear. A person who refuses to grow because he wants to feel secure may discover that the refusal to grow was the very thing that made him insecure. Nightingale taught that people begin to die when they become settled. Not physically at first, but mentally, creatively, spiritually. They stop exploring. They stop asking. They stop learning. They stop challenging themselves. They stop using the gold mine between their ears. And the tragedy is that many of them still look busy. They go to work, answer messages, attend meetings, complete tasks, pay bills, and maintain the appearance of movement. But movement without growth is not progress. A ship can move for days and still be lost if it has no destination. A ship tied safely in the harbor may avoid storms, but ships are not built to spend their lives in harbor. And a human life is not built to be spent in fear of the open sea. The ship with a captain, a map, a destination, and a crew may face rough waters, but it has a chance to reach its port. The drifting ship, the ship with no direction, no decision, and no courage to sail, eventually becomes a derelict. Playing safe without a goal is not safety. It is drifting with a respectable name. The real risk-taker is not the person who acts blindly. The real risk-taker is the person who thinks independently, prepares carefully, and then moves while the majority is still waiting for certainty. Certainty is the great illusion. People say, "I will begin when I am sure," but life rarely gives complete certainty before action. You become more certain by acting, learning, adjusting, and continuing. You do not see the whole road before you begin. You see enough to take the next step. Then the next step reveals more. This is how confidence is built. Confidence is not created by avoiding all danger. Confidence is created by proving to yourself that you can meet uncertainty with preparation and courage. Earl Nightingale's central principle was, "We become what we think about." If a person thinks constantly about safety, fear, loss, criticism, and failure, his life will shrink to match those thoughts. If he thinks about a worthy goal, service, growth, solutions, and intelligent action, his life begins to expand in that direction. The mind is like fertile soil. It does not care what you plant. Plant fear, and fear grows. Plant hesitation, and hesitation grows. Plant courage, service, and disciplined action, and those seeds begin to grow as well. This is why playing safe becomes dangerous. It plants the idea that fear should lead. And once fear becomes the leader, the person stops using the creative power of his mind. He begins living defensively. He begins asking, "What if I fail?" More often than, "What if this is the path that changes my life?" He begins asking, "What will people say?" More often than, "What will I become if I keep refusing?" One of the greatest fears behind playing safe is the fear of laughter. People are terrified of being laughed at, not because laughter can truly destroy them, but because they have given other people's opinions too much authority. History is full of people who were laughed at before they were respected. New ideas are often mocked before they are accepted. The person who tries something different will almost always meet resistance from those who have chosen not to try. That resistance is not proof that you are wrong. Often it is simply proof that you are leaving the crowd. The crowd is not offended by your failure. The crowd is often disturbed by your courage, because courage reminds people of the chances they refuse to take. If you are waiting for universal approval before you begin, you will wait your entire life. The moment you choose a worthy goal, someone will misunderstand you. Someone will doubt you. Someone may laugh, let them. Their laughter is not the law of your life. Your goal, your preparation, your service, and your persistence matter far more. Ideas are worthless unless we act on them. A dream protected from risk remains only a dream. A plan never tested remains only paper. A talent never used becomes a quiet regret. The person who wants more from life must bring his ideas into the world, where they can be tested, corrected, improved, and strengthened. This is the difference between fantasy and achievement. Fantasy wants the prize without exposure. Achievement accepts exposure as part of the price, and the price is always there. If you play safe, you pay with regret. If you take intelligent risks, you pay with effort, discipline, embarrassment, uncertainty, and temporary failure. But one price builds you and the other diminishes you. Choose the price that creates a stronger life. In Lead the Field, the law is clear. Our rewards in life will always match our service. That means if you want greater rewards, you must increase your service. And increasing service always involves risk. You must risk becoming better than your current role requires. You must risk giving more than people expect. You must risk studying while others rest. You must risk offering ideas. You must risk becoming too big for your present position. The person who does only what he is paid for will seldom be paid for more than he does. The person who quietly increases his value creates the cause that eventually produces a larger effect. This is the intelligent side of risk. Do not risk for attention. Risk for growth. Risk for service. Risk for mastery. Risk to become more useful. Risk to solve a problem better than you solved it yesterday. Risk to learn the skill that makes you harder to replace. Risk to speak the truth with respect. Risk to start the work that has been waiting for you. Risk, not because you are careless, but because you understand that a life of no risk is itself a risk against your future. The practical way forward is simple. For the next 7 days, choose one calculated risk connected to a worthy goal. Not a reckless risk, not an emotional jump, A prepared, intelligent, service-based risk. First, identify where you are following the follower. Where are you copying the crowd instead of thinking for yourself? Where are you staying comfortable because you fear criticism? Where are you doing only enough to get by? Write it down honestly. Second, spend 1 hour each day thinking with a blank sheet of paper. Put your goal at the top, then write 20 ways to move closer to it or increase your value. Some ideas will be weak. Some will be ordinary. One may be gold. Third, choose the 6 most important actions for tomorrow and do them in order. This turns courage into structure. Fourth, give more service than expected for 7 days. Bring more thought, more care, more preparation, and more responsibility into your work. Fifth, when fear appears, replace it with the picture of your goal. Keep both hands on the wheel of your mind. Do not allow fear to drive the machine into the ditch. You are the president of your own life. Your time, talents, thoughts, and energy are your capital. If you invest them only in comfort, you will receive the return of comfort. And comfort alone is never enough to build a great life. If you invest them in growth, service, courage, and intelligent action, your life begins to compound in a different direction. The higher you climb, the fresher the air and the smaller the crowd. But you will never know that air if you remain at the bottom waiting for risk to disappear. Risk will never disappear. It must be understood, prepared for, and faced. The greatest risk is not that you may fail while attempting something worthy. The greatest risk is that you may succeed at avoiding failure and still fail to become the person you were capable of becoming. So begin today. Choose the goal. Think independently. Increase your service. Take the prepared step. Let others laugh if they must. Let uncertainty be part of the road. Let temporary failure teach you. Let courage become a habit. You have nothing to lose by taking command of your life, but you have a life to win. The safe road will always invite you back. The crowd will always make room for another person willing to drift. But your future is asking for more than safety. It is asking for courage. It is asking for movement. It is asking for the risk of becoming. Take that risk.